cat hairs everywhere. Hello guys! Today I'm starting a new series where I go through my chronic illnesses video by video, explaining a little about what they are, how they impact my life, how they manifest in my life, and those kinds of things. I'm going to start today's video with like a little bit of a disclaimer. There will be brief mentions of self-harm, suicidal thoughts, and eating disorders. So if any of those things are triggers for you, then this might not be the video to watch. Unfortunately, because they play a role in this situation, I have to bring them up. But I just wanted to warn you guys ahead of time. So this first video, I'm going to be talking about my mental health, my illnesses, mental illnesses. I have bipolar disorder, anxiety, as well as what is called atypical anorexia, or at least disordered eating, scaling towards anorexia. I'm going to start with bipolar disorder. So bipolar disorder is a disorder associated with episodes of mood swings ranging from depressive lows to manic highs. If you don't know what mania is, it's, I guess, what people would consider hyperactive, like overstimulated kind of thing. What causes bipolar is a combination of genetics, environment, and altered brain structure and chemistry combined, or just one of those. There are two types of bipolar. One, it focuses more on having like stronger manic episodes, and one is more depressive. I'm type 2, which means mainly depressive episodes with hypomania, which means I don't have full manic episodes. I don't do, I guess, what you might see as like stereotypical manic. So for me, mania manifests itself as insomnia, irritability, especially irritability, negative mindset. I just focus a lot on negative things. I'm really like a negative person. I feel antsy, I can't sit still, I'm overly talkative, and I get angry easily. I have a very short temper. So that's what mania is for me. On the other scale, like depressive symptoms for me are uncontrollable crying, intense sadness, overwhelming feelings of dread, like almost like anxiety. I feel like something horrible is going to happen. I don't know what, I don't know when, I can't get rid of it. Hopelessness, worthlessness, in the past, self-harm, as well as suicidal thoughts, and not really actions. I never really acted on my suicidal thoughts, but I felt that I came close to wanting to act on them. For self-harm, I used to cut myself. I would cut myself in areas people wouldn't notice, and then I would wear a band-aid with Neosporin so I wouldn't scar, just so it wasn't obvious. I'm not going to go into like too many details. I don't want this video to be horribly long, but I eventually got to a point where I did therapy. I did therapy for many years. I had an amazing therapist, especially after years of having bad therapists. I found one who was amazing for me. He was so helpful, and he really helped me become the person I am, and I always credited him for basically saving my life, because he taught me how to get myself under control, but also helped me like find a doctor through him to get me on the correct medication. I did therapy for many years, and I finally hit a point where I don't know that therapy wouldn't necessarily be helpful for me, but I feel like I was given all of the tools I needed, and there aren't probably new tools that someone could give me. So therapy doesn't exactly seem like a wise financial decision for me, because I have all the tools and the skills I need to keep my bipolar under control as well as I can. It is nothing that you can cure. It will come and go. It'll flare, I guess is the best way. I am on medication. I take medication once a day. I think it works well for me. I was lucky enough to have luck with the very first medication they tried me on. Not everyone is that lucky. It's trial and error. There are side effects of the medication, like dry mouth. I am on prescription toothpaste because of it. Moving on to my next thing. Obviously I had depression, but the depression went in with the bipolar. So we're moving on to anxiety. I have had anxiety since I was a child. It started as a trauma response because I lost my father when I was around 4.5, and I've had anxiety ever since. Basically everyone knows what anxiety is. We've all felt it in one way or another. Some of us just don't have generalized anxiety disorder. I do, which means it never goes away, and I have to learn how to deal with the constant anxious thoughts at any moment of time. I missed out on a lot of experiences because I have been afraid to leave like my home, leave my loved ones, because I'm afraid if I'm not there something bad will happen to them. I'm never afraid of something bad happening to me, oddly. I'm always afraid of things happening to other people, which makes sense given that it started after losing my dad, so I have a fear of losing other people I care about. Anxiety does cause a huge strain on relationships, whether it's friendships, family relationships, romantic relationships, because you never feel like you're fully there. You always feel like part of you is gone. I saw this post, I don't know if I will be able to find it. Yes, anxiety struggles. This was saved from something called Blessing Manifesting. I found it on Facebook, so I don't know. There's 2 columns: what you see, what I feel. So this summarizes anxiety quite well, I think. Always on time, what I feel. Instant tummy ache if I think I'm going to be 1 minute late. Definitely, like, I'm spot on for all of these, so I'm not going to just keep saying that after everyone. Strong work ethic, fear of being fired over the littlest thing or disappointing my boss. Always in control. Something will go wrong if I don't do everything myself. That one is very strong for me. I have a hard time letting go of control and letting people help me or asking for help, even though I'm physically disabled and I do need help. Good at planning. I need to be prepared in case bad thing A, B, or C happens. Always organized. I have to be organized so I don't get overwhelmed and melt down. Super helpful. If I say no, they'll think that I don't care about them. Zen and relaxed. If I don't meditate, do yoga, and breathe, I'll lose it. Self-assured. Don't listen to anxiety. You got this, you got this, you got this. And finally, calm and composed. Just finished crying in the bathroom. I can do this. Those are all a perfect picture of what it's like to have like a chronic anxiety disorder. It never goes away. Every action I do somehow is influenced by anxiety. I'm working very hard on that, but it's a constant battle. As for medication, there's no true medication for anxiety. Some people think there is, but they're just kind of there to help with panic attacks. I do take a medication that helps called Cymbalta, and it does seem to help me be able to control my anxiety a little bit better, which I'm very grateful for. But it is still something that I mainly have to take care of myself, and I do try. Moving on to what I'm just going to call an eating disorder or disordered eating. I have never been formally diagnosed with anything. I call it anorexia because that's what it fit on a checklist, basically. So when I first got sick, I gained a bunch of weight. I have gained easily 100 pounds since before I was sick. Obviously your body just changes as you age, so I'm going based on my 17-year-old weight, which was 98 pounds. I wouldn't have stayed 98 pounds, obviously, but that's what we're going with. Around 2011, I became obsessed with my weight. I became obsessed with being the size I was before I got sick, even though I was underweight. Not intentionally, by the way. I never had an eating disorder before my 20s. I just had a very fast metabolism, and That's all it is. So around 2011, I became to obsessively track calories, grams of sugar. I would weigh myself regularly, sometimes a couple times a day. I would exercise as much as I could physically handle. I would punish myself with skipping meals if I ate something bad at any point. I would get excited. I was using a calorie counter like MyFitnessPal. I would actively get excited when I would check in for the day and it would tell me that I was dangerously under my calories. That was a goal for me, to get that little warning, which is obviously a horrible situation. I did eventually reach what was a goal weight for me, and it wasn't sustainable, as none of that ever is, and in turn I permanently ruined my metabolism. I actually also did damage to my muscles and my ligaments, because if you don't eat enough, your body will start to eat those things and you can't repair them. You can't grow new ligaments. So I have permanent damage to those, especially on my left side. My knee and my hip are regularly weak and in a lot of pain. It makes it hard to do certain things just because the ligaments are so weak they actually can't support certain movements properly. So I have to be careful with exercising that I do. It's taken a lot to get where I am now. I'm in recovery. I'm in a good place. I don't even think about those things anymore, and I like to credit that to the internet, really. Finding women who are in recovery, who are just body positive, dietitians on Instagram who specifically support recovering eating disorder victims, patients, I'm not sure what you call us. But also just like proving that all these things we are fed about nutrition are always a lie. It's always a lie. I didn't ever know that to fix your metabolism or keep your metabolism working, you actively have to eat more food than you would even realize. I never realized that 1,200 calories was the food for a 2-year-old. An adult woman needs so much more, especially if you're exercising. It has been a learning experience. The voice is still there, and it always is chirping in the background trying to get me to relapse, but I'm pretty good at controlling that. I won't betray my body like that ever again, at least not intentionally, but it is a mental illness and I can't say that I won't slip up. I have just been learning to love and appreciate my body for what it does for me, what it is. There's nothing wrong with the way that I look. I'm a 30-year-old woman. Obviously, I'm not going to look the way I did when I was 17 years old, and you won't either. But it's hard, especially when you have the disease. If I'm being honest, I think most people have some type of disordered eating, as well as the voice that's just waiting for it to become an eating disorder. It's hard to tune it out. It's hard to rebel, I guess, and it's hard to actually nourish and respect your body and give it what it needs. Yeah, it needs lettuce and it needs fruit and it needs protein, but it also needs carbs and sugar. It just does. I always like to describe mental illness as being possessed. With all these situations, my bipolar, my anxiety, my eating disorder, there's a rational part of my brain that knows this is silly. This makes no sense. Why are you doing this? Just stop. You're hurting yourself. But there's someone else in control. And you're almost sitting there watching someone else do all of these things that are bad or toxic or harmful, and you can't do anything. You're literally possessed by yourself. You'll never be able to get rid of the possession. You'll always have to live with it, but you'll be able to learn coping mechanisms and use medications and therapy to like lock that demon in the closet. So it'll be there, but it'll be muffled and you're in control again. Sometimes it'll escape and you have to learn the right tricks to force it back in the closet. Growing is a process, and while a mental illness might be a reason for behaviors, it's not an excuse. You don't get to just say, this is how I am, because it's not only harmful for yourself, it's harmful for the people around you. It's your responsibility at some point in your life to become fully responsible for your behaviors. Like, yes, my bipolar causes me to be irritable and hard to deal with, but I have to just take charge and learn that if I'm snappy with someone, I have to deal with those consequences. I need to apologize, I need to stand up, and I need to try to figure out a way to manage my irritation when I'm in that mood. Like, a perfect example is I wake up and I can feel it. I just kind of give a heads up, like, hey, I'm just in an irritable place today, so I'm gonna try not to be, but I may be short with you, I may be snappy, I may yada yada. It's up to you to deal with the things that are coming out of you. I get not everyone has access to therapy. It's expensive. Like I said, it's not financially reasonable for me to do therapy right now. It doesn't even make sense for me to do it again unless something happens. But there are endless resources online to help you learn some coping mechanisms. I still think trying to get into therapy is a good idea for everyone, but if you can't, there's so many resources online that help. Those are the things I have been using recently. I'm learning so many ways to deal with my thought process, learn how to better myself, and learn how to deal with my own happiness, my own journey, figure out what my triggers are. And I've done that recently. Unfortunately, I have had to sever relationships with loved ones, even without telling them. I have had to basically ghost people. And while that might not seem mature, I'm one who believes you don't owe anyone anything. You don't owe people an explanation for things that are for you, that are bettering you, especially if it's a person who's not going to hear what you're saying anyway. I have had relationships where I feel like everything I have said has not been heard for such an extended period of time that even if I was honest as to why choosing to end that relationship in my life, they would try to convince me otherwise. And that makes it even harder. You've already made the decision that it's for the best, that you are no longer in contact with a person, and now you have to deal with them trying to convince you otherwise and to doubt yourself, which I don't think is good. Part of my own growth journey has been surrounding myself with positivity and support, and there have been a lot of people in my life, friends, relatives, who are not part of that. They don't give anything, they only take things. They only contact me when they need something, whether it's they need me to be their emotional dumping ground, they need me to give them advice, they need me to answer questions. They also seem to need to know about me. There are some people who don't care about you but need to know you and need to know things about you to keep up a weird competition in their mind. And so not only have I been changing my environment and the people I surround myself with, I've also been changing what I choose to share with certain people. I haven't ended all relationships that I feel are not healthy for me, but I have distanced myself from some of them to where I guess I give them the bare minimum, which sounds horrible, but I don't mean that as in I am rude or impolite or I don't take part in a conversation, but I keep personal information mainly to myself because I don't need people to use that against me. I've been in situations with people I care about who have taken moments where I have been honest and vulnerable and they have turned it around and used it as a backhanded compliment or used it as a straight up insult, and I don't want to give them ammunition to do that, you know? It's unfair to me, and I also recognize that this isn't just about me. There are going to be plenty of people who feel like I do not benefit their growth as a person. I am that person who takes and doesn't give. I am that person who is a source of negativity or negative feelings. I just don't fit in their life, and that's okay. I'm okay if someone needs to remove me from their life to grow as a human being, and I wish them well. I will not be hurt or upset. That's just how it is. As adults, we grow and we change, hopefully. And a lot of that is not taking it personally. The relationships I've had to change, we did have good times and we learned and grew from each other. And then we grew to a point that our paths separated and we went on two different journeys. That's okay. There will never be hard feelings on my end if someone chooses to change the relationship status with me. I cannot hold it against anyone if in their journey I am not a positive light or beneficial or helpful. That's okay, because that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person. It just means that's how it is. Now, in some situations, you do have to remove people for being kind of shitty people. I've removed narcissistic friends. I've distanced myself from narcissistic family members. I don't wish them any ill will. The only thing I wish for them is that they can notice their flaws and start to heal and grow, and maybe at some point in the future paths will cross again, but for right now I'm on a journey that some other people don't want to take. Basically, to sum that up, we all have somewhere we're going, and sometimes the cast of our story just changes. That doesn't mean it's a bad story. This is sort of kind of a long video. I have a feeling some of the other ones are going to be longer, my main disability video will probably be much longer. I hope that this is a series that can help some people, help you understand me, help you understand a loved one, or even yourself. I hope this inspires some of you to make some changes just for the better, to better yourself. I have to say, 2020 has been a hard year, but it has been the best year for my mental health. They are things that I will struggle with every day, off and on, but I'm working so hard to get to a place where I can understand them better, function with them better, and focus on my physical disabilities. I don't know. I don't have an outro. I'll see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing. I attempt to make videos every Tuesday and Friday, but disabilities get in the way. I'll see you guys next time.